Hey guys, it's Matt, welcome to SpeedTutor, and today we're going to be looking at a tutorial on the way to edit or change all the properties that you find in a material in Unity. So we'll look at material and we'll look how to change all the textures in there, all the sliders, and everything in runtime, so you know if you need to change the texture, object, whether it's normal map, ambient occlusion, anything like that. We'll learn how to do it all today. Be sure to check out my Patreon to get access to over 145 different scripts, projects and assets you cannot find anywhere else. Do check out all the links in the description for all the sales for the Unity store, Humble Bundle and every bit of saving you can make in game dev. So throw a like on this video, tell me what you think, and always be subscribed for all my new content. So if I take an example and you look at my warrior character here, and I click on the material that this warrior character has, in the standard render pipeline is we've just got the standard shader. Now it has a bunch of slots here which has got different textures, different sliders and other things. Now you can see there's an albedo metallic, normal height occlusion detail and lots of things. Now with these we need to reference these in script, and I've written a script which you can get on my Patreon which will show you exactly which of the properties that you need to access to be able to change them and be able to access these on a button press. And I've created these all and we'll go through these today so you can get to grips with it. There is another resource here which I'll put in the description, and you can see how the shader works with the ambient strength, the maps and all the settings that you will need. But let's say that we want to reference this out ourselves. I'll put all the annotations in the timeline, but say we click on our material and you see the three dots in the top corner, we can say select shader, and then we can see all the properties that are from this shader. So you can see the color, the main texture, the cutoff, the glossiness map scale, parallax mapping, and all those things that are part of the standard shader. And I will leave a selection of these on the screen for you to check them out, and you can refer to them as you need. And we've got a button here which we're going to set the material properties with, and I've just got a set material properties game object which I'm going to add the script to. Is right click, create C#, and then we're just going to make a script called set material properties. And one thing I will mention on the standard shader, the rendering mode with these drop downs here that cannot be changed in script, but there's here something that I'll put which you can look in Github to extend a class to be able to do it, but it's not something that you always want to do because these are the things if you want to take transparency into account. Now with the main maps you have an albedo slot which will have a texture and a specific color. So if we go into here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a public method, so public void, and then I'm going to call this the set the albedo texture. And then from there, so what we need is a specific material that we're going to use. Then we want to set the texture that we want, then we want the actual property that we need, and then the actual texture that we're going to use. I'm just going to create a quick header and write in square brackets serialize field private material, and have this as type as my selected material that I want to edit. Now remember that if you use material and you just edit this material by default, it will change it on the actual material. If other objects change it, it will change it in your project. So if you swap the albedo out, material will always have that change across all of your models because it'll change that material even if you exit play mode. Now if you create a instanced material, that's great, but my model has lots of different parts of the actual asset or the character which share the same material, so it's not as easy to do the instance material because I'd have to do it about 5 different times, but I'll show you how to do that too. So you have square brackets serialize field, private renderer, and then you could have that as selected model. So in this case, if we use that as selected model, then we can create an instance material so it only affects that instance when we're in runtime and it won't affect the original material. Then we're going to look at setting the main textures, so we're going to write square brackets serialize field private, and then we want the texture 2D to change, and then I'll just set that as our albedo texture. As we said here with the commented section, we can do the selected material dot set texture open brackets, and then in quotes here we need to write the property or the name ID of what it is, and instead of it being called albedo, this is called main text for whatever reason, and you can refer to that part in the video if you need to. And then we can just name this albedo texture. And remember, of course, if you did want to access the selected model, you could create a start method which will find that for us. So we could say that our selected material is equal to our selected model dot get component, in angle brackets we'll say renderer, and then we'll end those brackets and choose material. Then in this case, if we actually use it select material, it would actually create an instance material, but I don't want that. I'm just going to change my original material because then the entirety of the model will update. So that will set the albedo texture. And then if you want to be able to set your albedo specific color, we could say that the selected material dot set color, and then open brackets in quotes we'll say underscore color, because that is the actual main color of the object, and we can just specify a color, say color.red, and then we can save that, go back to set material properties, and then I'm going to add my set material properties, and then you can see that my selected material will be my warrior material. You can set the renderer if you did want to do that, but then the albedo texture, I'm just going to put this to a different asset that I've got here. And then with that being said, I can go to my button. I'm just going to add my property there. I'm just going to choose to set the albedo texture, and it will change the color as well, because we could create another method, but I was just quickly showing you it. Now if we press play and I press my little button, you can see that my warrior material changed its albedo texture and changed the color. So you can see it looks kind of weird now. And if we press play again, you can see that that original material did switch, and it's changed it forever. So if you were testing this, it's not always the best way unless you remember that you would want to add the original albedo back onto the character, or remember what it had previously if you're going to change it. But remember, this would change all models that share the same material unless you created that instanced version. So now we want to set the albedo alpha, which is if you've got the material set to fade or transparent, we can actually fade the texture with a slider. So we can do that by saying we can set a local variable of color. I'm going to say underscore matte color, set that equal to the selected material dot color, and then we can say underscore matte color dot alpha is equal to some value that we're going to add, and then we'll say our selected material dot color is equal to our underscore material color. We can create an albedo alpha value that we're going to use in this case, so you can see that equals the value that we're going to set here. So we can again test this out. I'll add the new method to my button, which is set the alpha value. I'm just going to set it to 0. In this case, I need to make sure that my original material that I set the rendering mode to something like fade, even though it looks kind of weird now. We just have to do that, and then when we press OK, you can see that now the material, you can see that the alpha has been taken down to 0. Now you can see on the next one is the metallic value. So I'm going to give you an example of the metallic, and then I will run through the rest of the script to show you exactly what each of them do. So then if we had a public variable that we wanted to set the metallic texture, we'll just do the selected material.set texture, and in quotes we'll do underscore metallic gloss map by looking at that list, and then we would need a metallic texture which we can create up at the top, and then we can also look to change the smoothness value, which is selected material.set float, and then its gloss map scale, and then it's the smoothness value that we're going to set. Because you see Unity has slightly different ways that it actually suggests its PBR workflow, because it uses metallic smoothness, which is an inversion of roughness, which makes glossiness, which when they're combined together, Unity's just distinction is metallic gloss or metallic smoothness, which is not often used in actual normal PBR definitions. But with that being said, we use set float, set texture, and usually set color to do any of the things that we want to change, because as you can see, we've got albedo, metallic with a smoothness value, which goes from 0 to 1 in our case. And then we've got, in other cases, we've got a normal map, which is a texture, and it's got a value of 0 to whatever you want, because you can make the normal map really pronounced. Then you've got a height map, which is just set texture. Then you've got an occlusion map, which is just a set texture and then it's got a range value, which is just another set float. Then you've got a detail mask, which is set texture. Then you've got emission, which is slightly different, and I do have a tutorial exactly teaching you how to understand emission, but we'll go through that. And then secondary maps, which is setting texture, and again setting float. And then these two are toggles, which should be booleans, but they're not, but they're a value of 1 or 0, so 1 being ticked, 0 being not. I will just run through my script that I've got. So we set the albedo, which we'd already gone through. We've looked at metallic, but in this case, normal maps to set the texture use with _bump map was the original name for a normal map, but more of a grayscale image similar to a height map. And then if you want to set the normal intensity, it was going to be _bump scale. Then if you wanted to actually add a height map, it is called a _parallax map, and the value or the intensity is _parallax. And then if you've got an ambient occlusion map, you do set texture and then _occlusion map. And then you can do, if you want to set the value, you can do _occlusion strength. If you want to edit the detail mask that's there, you can say _detail mask with set texture. If you want to turn emissions on and off, you can do disable and enable keyword with _capital emission. Then if you want to change the texture on an emissive texture, you can say set texture _emission map. Then you can do the same for the intensity. Then with the intensity, it's the same as changing the color. So we set the color that we want, which could be white or anything. Then we set the intensity we want, and then we select emission color, and then do the color times the intensity. So the color would just be whatever color you want to set times by the value that you want. Then any secondary maps that you have would be set albedo times 2, which would be _detail albedo map. And then if you want to set the value of the secondary normal map, you can do detail _detail normal map scale. Then, like I said, if you want to set the forward rendering options for specular highlights and the reflections, you need to use _specular highlights between just a value of 1 or 0. And then you need to also set a flow of, if you want to turn the reflections on or off, you need to use _glossy reflections. And remember, if you are in Unity at any point, you can always select the shader on your material and refer to all of the options, but I'll leave all the links in the description and all the notes in the timeline for you to check all these out. I hope this helps you create an idea of how to change your material properties at runtime. Do let me know what you think. Do be sure to come and join me on Discord. Come and check out my Patreon if you want to get access to over 145 different scripts, assets and projects, including this one, where I'll put all the script for you guys to get hold of. Do come and chat to me on Discord. Check out my great assets on the Unity Asset Store and all my assets on my website with massive discounts. So thank you so much to all my patrons. Big thanks to Peter Steiner, Raheem Whitaker, Tan Yanlin, David76, Sammy Romani, Gene Pomye, Nai Guyan, Matt Cinderdinos, Zach, Menace Bericas, Terence Conrad, Gage Linston, Walter Dunson, John Games, James Newman, Randall X, Mumuzu, Rennie Leisure, Dan M, and Topher Chambers. So thank you to everybody else for coming to watch. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers.